Dad always says that farming used to be 95% art and 5% science. Today that's completely reversed. We're 95% science and 5% art.
We're a sixth-generation family farm, founded in 1902.
Our main living lab project is the nitrogen inhibitor trials. So we have varying rates of nitrogen with and without inhibitors.
So we're trying to help them reduce losses and get more of the nitrogen that they apply to the plants to increase the efficiency of the application. If you look at Canada's agricultural emissions, it's about 1/3 of agricultural greenhouse gas emissions are coming from nitrous oxide. But I'll give you a really simple explanation and a simple demonstration. So we have a frame that we leave in the soil. This one's not in the ground. Normally it'd be buried a couple centimeters. You just take a lid like this, you put it on top, and then you make sure that it's sealed. And then you take a gas sample from here. And then you can imagine that you leave that for, say, 15 minutes. And during that 15 minutes, if there's any emissions coming out of the soil, the concentration in that chamber is going to change. Especially carbon dioxide, you're going to see an increase in that because your soils are active. There's roots underneath that are producing CO2. And so at 15 minutes or some time frame, it doesn't really matter exactly. You'll come back and you'll take another sample. And then you'll do that, and then you wait a while, and then you come back, take a third, wait a while, come back, take a fourth.
Adoption's very slow in agriculture, and with the changing demographics and the older farmers that are retiring and younger generations coming in, we're seeing a more keen interest in using data points as references for some of the decisions that are made on the farm. And we're certainly getting feedback from our neighbors and our colleagues in the industry who want to learn more about some of the things that we're doing.
Talking about the producers that we work with, they're all really, really innovative. I mean, 2 of the 3 farmers that I'm working directly with have bought their own biochar machine. So they make their own biochar, which they want to try adding into manure and compost and that.
So we process our own compost, approximately 2,000 tons of it per year, and we make it here on the farm. We're working with the local municipality in the county, taking the leaf and yard waste. So we blend these materials with our agriculture waste, as well as the wood chips and the branches and the bark, all end up in our compost stream, along with our agriculture waste. What we have here is basically half-finished compost. The woody materials are already starting to break down, and you've got pretty good aggregate there already.
So if your nitrogen is limiting and you do practices that reduce losses, then you might get a little bit of a bump in yield. But if you're not, we are kind of hoping for a win-win situation here where we can make it a little bit more economically promising for the farmers and see a reduction in greenhouse gases as well.
So what we're looking at here is the beginning of the process of our biochar program. These materials were acquired locally from a plantation that we've thinned. We'll take these wood chips, we'll heat them through our process in a process called pyrolysis. And what you see here is the finished product. So this is biochar, and this would be over 80% pure carbon. So it acts as a habitat for microbes. And like I said, it's extremely absorbent and binds with nutrients as well as water in the soil.
And what we are finding is in those scenarios where we've had those best management practices over a long period of time, we are seeing more resilient soils and seeing statistically significant increases in yield. And that's validating that our practices are working, and we can share those with our neighbors and the general community to show and demonstrate that over time we can make the changes necessary to make our soils more resilient.
I've learned a ton. I mean, do I find it beneficial, the co-development program? Definitely. You sort of have to tailor solutions to each individual farm almost, which it's a fun problem to try to solve.